Okay, ready for this? We're going deep into some serious science today, folks, and it might just make you rethink the impact of childhood.
It's a fascinating question, right?
Can the stresses of our early years actually echo in the DNA of our children?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And it all boils down to this field called epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Yeah, it's essentially how our genes are expressed. Think of it like a volume control for your DNA.
So it's not about changing the genes themselves, but how loudly they kind of speak, so to speak.
Exactly. And what's got everyone buzzing is this idea that experiences, particularly in those early years, can actually adjust those volume controls.
And we're not just talking theory here, right? There's new research coming out of the University of Turku in Finland.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about that study.
That's making waves.
Big waves.
Yeah.
These Finnish scientists studied 58 fathers, analyzing the epigenetic markers in their sperm.
Sperm, wow, okay.
And they used something called the trauma and distress scale.
The TADS.
Yeah, the TADS to assess each man's childhood stress levels, focusing on any experiences of neglect or abuse.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting because they found that men who reported higher levels of childhood stress actually had distinct epigenetic differences in their sperm compared to the guys with the lower stress scores.
It's incredible, really. It's
Yeah.
like we can actually see these biological traces of those early experiences.
That's amazing.
And one molecule in particular stood out in the research. It's called Samir 34C5P.
Samir what?
Samir 34C5P. It's a mouthful, I know.
Okay.
But it was expressed differently in the high-stress group. And guess what?
What?
The same molecule has been linked to brain development in mice.
Hold on. Are they saying that childhood trauma could impact brain development in kids?
Well, it's tempting to jump to that conclusion, but we need to be careful.
Right.
This study doesn't prove a direct cause and effect, you know?
Okay.
It just shows a correlation, and it's in sperm, not in children.
Right. So we can't draw any definitive conclusions about the next generation just yet.
Not quite yet, no.
Okay, but hasn't there been research on this type of inheritance in other species, like animals?
Absolutely. There have been some fascinating studies with worms and mice that have shown epigenetic changes can actually be inherited.
Wow, so it is possible.
It seems so, but the big question is whether this holds true for humans.
Right, and if so, what are the long-term effects?
Exactly.
So even if we're just at the beginning of understanding all of this in humans,
Yeah, we're definitely in the early stages.
this Finnish study is pretty groundbreaking.
Oh, absolutely groundbreaking work.
It suggests that our experiences, especially these early traumas, could be shaping more than just you and me.
Yeah, it's like we're uncovering this whole other layer of complexity
Wow.
in this whole nature versus nurture debate, and this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
That's incredible.
We're just beginning to unravel all these mysteries of how our experiences, good and bad, might be woven into the very fabric of our DNA.
And that raises a whole bunch of questions.
So many questions.
Like what other epigenetic changes might be hiding in our genes? What are the implications for future generations?
It's a whole new frontier of scientific exploration.
Wow.
And the implications are huge. Think about it. If these epigenetic changes can actually be inherited,
Yeah.
wouldn't addressing childhood trauma have benefits that reach beyond just the individual?
You're talking about like breaking the cycle of trauma.
Yeah.
Not just for one person, but for generations to come.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
This research really highlights how important early intervention and support is for people who have experienced trauma.
That's a good point. We've been focusing on this one molecule
Right.
that's linked to brain development in mice.
Yeah.
But the research article mentioned other genes too, right?
It did, yeah. The researchers also observed epigenetic changes around two genes called CRTC1 and EBX2.
CRTC1 and GDX2.
Yeah, and get this, these genes have also been linked to early brain development,
Really?
but again, in animal studies.
So we're seeing multiple connections to brain development,
Yeah.
even though this study didn't actually look at the children of these fathers.
It's crucial to remember that this is just one piece of the puzzle, you know?
Right.
More research is needed to really connect the dots and understand the full picture. But what's fascinating is that these findings open up new avenues for exploration.
Yeah, it's like we're only just scratching the surface of how our experiences shape us, both individually and potentially across generations.
Absolutely. Think of our biology as this incredibly dynamic system that's constantly interacting with the world around us, you know?
Yeah.
And our experiences, particularly those from early in life, they can leave these lasting fingerprints on our DNA.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder what other epigenetic changes might be hidden in our genes, silently influenced by our past experiences.
That's the beauty of science, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always more to discover, and this study is a perfect example of how much we still don't know about this interplay between nature and nurture.
This whole conversation has really got me thinking about the legacy we leave behind.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in terms of possessions or memories,
Right.
but on a biological level,
Yeah,
potentially?
it really challenges our assumptions about the boundaries between ourselves and future generations, right?
Yeah,
We often think about inheritance in terms of physical traits, but what if we're also passing down echoes of our experiences?
that's a really profound thought. And it raises another question. If these echoes actually exist, can we change the tune? You know,
Hmm.
can we create environments and experiences that foster resilience and well-being, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come?
Now that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
This research opens up the possibility of not just understanding the impact of our past, but potentially shaping a healthier future.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive, from the basics of epigenetics to the groundbreaking findings in this Finnish study.
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
And while there's still so much more to learn, one thing's for sure, this is a field with the potential to completely revolutionize our understanding of ourselves and the legacy we pass on.
Absolutely, it really is. And on that note, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about.
Yeah, it really is mind-blowing to think about, that our experiences could have implications that go way beyond our own lifespan.
Really makes you think about the impact of our actions and the environments we create, doesn't it? Like knowing they could be shaping the biological inheritance of future generations.
Yeah, it's almost like this hidden language, right? This concept of epigenetic inheritance
Mm.
encoded in our DNA, a language that speaks to how interconnected our lives are across time,
Yeah, and we're just starting to learn the alphabet of that language.
right?
This Finnish study is just a tiny window into a vast and really complex landscape.
It makes you wonder, like, what other secrets are hidden within our genes,
Oh, I'm sure there are tons.
just waiting to be uncovered by science.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as we delve deeper into this uncharted territory, you know, what new possibilities for healing and growth might emerge? It's pretty exciting.
Well, we've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about today.
Yeah, for sure.
From the intricate workings of epigenetics to the potential impact of childhood experiences on future generations.
I mean, who would have thought?
It's clear that we're just scratching the surface of a truly revolutionary field of study.
It really is, and it's a field with so much potential, for understanding our past, but also shaping a healthier future.
And that's what makes this so exciting, I think, right? We're not just passive recipients of our genetic inheritance.
Right.
We actually have the power to influence the expression of our genes through our experiences and our choices. And it's like a ripple effect that goes way beyond ourselves.
It's a good reminder that our lives are really intricately woven into the fabric of humanity, right? We're connected not just through our history, but through the essence of who we are.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of epigenetics, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Unlock Your Mind podcast for more light-provoking explorations. And until next time, keep those minds curious and engaged. 230C.